Congratulations for taking the time to be here. We're all growing together. We're all learning from each other. And on that note, before we do start with Renuka, I'd like to say that we have Manali here with us, and it's her birthday today. So we're going to wish her at the end. So stay on so we can take the time to celebrate her presence as well. And I'm going to introduce Renuka before bringing her on for a conversation. Renuka Rao lives in the UK. She is a mom of two beautiful children and a Montessori teacher to many more beautiful ones at a rural nursery setting. She is on a personal journey from being an adult who used to thrust the value she believed in upon children. She is now becoming a more conscious being who explores along with children the true meaning of living a life of values. So welcome, Renuka. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Maybe you can speak a little louder, if that's possible.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah? Okay, good. How are you feeling about being here, Renuka?
So I'm feeling a bit nervous, so please excuse me if I get flustered and flap about or talk too much. Ananta, stop me when I,
Take off, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for taking the time. Renuka here to talk about a very important subject that I think most of us here in the audience especially is going to feel and relate with, because we all feel for the world, we feel for the planet, we feel for children, and there are so many different causes, right? And so for you, what does it mean to live a life of values?
So I guess it just means to make day-to-day choices more consciously, in a way that they're aligned with the ideas that I value.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that just a lot of stuff that, we learned to value while we were growing up, I still really deeply value. But there's obviously a lot of other stuff that we just absorb. And I feel like it needs questioning. And I'm just making my way through those other ideas, just unpicking them so that, I can better align myself, with where I want to be or what I want to truly stand for.
Beautiful. Okay, what is it like to have deep values and live in a world where the majority of the collective is seemingly far from living those?
So I mean, I'm very aware that it's only seemingly that people are far from it. It's just that we all get to our points of reflecting on stuff at different times. But to answer that question, it's kind of like the journey is different on different days. I think for me, some days I feel really like I can feel my conviction, and then it's easier to stand for what I believe in. And on other days, I just feel really overwhelmed. I mean, that comes naturally to me anyway, that feeling of just feeling quite scattered and overwhelmed. And then the mind makes up these stories, and you get lost in dialogues about maybe I'm not doing enough. You could never really do enough anyway, so don't bother. Or what are people thinking and stuff. But like, in a way, watching myself going through this journey, like the ups and downs, and it's this stuff and reflecting on it that has helped me grow, Like, for example, my family is all of us, as in my kids and my husband and I, we all value taking care of the planet equally. So some of our choices at home are based around reducing packaging and things like that. And in the past, I always would kind of not point fingers, but it used to annoy me, frustrate me a bit that, like, I thought large companies don't take enough responsibility and they are so commercially focused, they exploit our needs and things like that. Like, for example, I don't know, a pack of 6 apples would be cheaper than buying 6 apples individually. But if I want, stuff like that isn't very helpful. But then over time, as I reflected on stuff, I started recognizing that it's up to us actually. Like, the stuff that's on offer is a reflection of what we are asking to consume. And this is true in most areas. The change is in our hands, and we can choose to start tweaking the way we, interact with everything that's around us. So just in that sense, like, I guess the journey right now is just to recognize that I value it and what can I do best without judging others, and one day at a
Yeah.
time.
Yes, one day at a time, absolutely. And what was your mental emotional state like before you embarked on this journey for yourself?
Yeah, we've spoken about this. So I was, as a child, I was always really quite sensitive. And I had this thing of taking everything very seriously, very literally. Just I couldn't get humor. I still struggle a bit with that. But just, I mean, life was beautiful and I kind of got lost. And, I had a sense that maybe I get a bit more affected sometimes than others. Like I couldn't watch the news because I found it too much, or read newspapers. And it did make me have this sense of oddness, but I kind of just like, got lost in life. But then it catches up. And, when it got tough, then I started, it started surfacing all this stuff as self doubt and anxiety and stuff. And then there came a particular time when everything felt quite misaligned and just insignificant. I couldn't tell why I valued the things that I did. Was there any point in it? And that's when I met Ananta. So I started learning to listen to my voice inside of me, and just learned that I could find the tools within me to calm myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think, most of us are like that. Like we do really reflect deeply on the things that we see, we consume. And thank you for sharing that. What have been some of your greatest takeaways once you embarked on the journey of self love, and just really honoring and respecting the fact that your sensitivity is a gift? So, what are your greatest takeaways?
Um, like the biggest thing for me, I guess, has been that it's a process. I used to be really impatient and impulsive. Everything needed to be done now, and there was this mental, imaginary idea of perfection, that I, imagine things should happen according to. But I've kind of over this time realized that, just change, when we want to change ourselves, and self-evolution, these things are a process. They're not an instant fix. I've learned from so many of you right in this audience. But Ananta, you've supported so much, in this journey. As a story for that, actually, I was telling Ananta this story in one of our conversations, when my husband, a few years back, at New Year's Eve, he just, like, one New Year's Eve, he announced that he was going to go flexitarian, he said. So we've never heard this word before. So we were like, what does that mean? So he said, it means I'm going to be vegetarian, but if I feel like, then I'll eat meat. So we just all laughed at him so much. We thought, what a cop, like, he's just so lame. This is just, he's making up these, basically he wants to eat the meat and he's not owning up to it, kind of thing. But this is the kind of stuff we say to ourselves. We kind of like, oh, you're just chickening out of something. But in the next few months, he did exactly what he said. He did exactly that. He was mostly vegetarian, except when he really felt like it, he would eat his meat. No guilt, no shame, nothing. Just, I was so amazed, because in a few months from then, he was like a craving-free vegetarian. There was none of this, because I've tried other stuff in the past and I've gone head on, and then I'm desperate. There's all this. Whereas in his case, it was so, like Ananta says, joy and ease. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love himself. Yeah, the craving free is such an important point. If we are too harsh with ourselves, we tend to, that craving catches up at some point for most people, not just with food, but all kinds of other things, right? Desires and dreams. And That's why I think the idea of flexitarian, being flexitarian, taking that philosophy and applying it to your life and the goal that you want to achieve. Renuka, would you like to talk a little bit about that? About living life with values as a flexitarian that we discussed? Yeah.
So I guess, and then when I told Ananta the story, she helped me recognize that Tushar had been so, like she says, gentle yet assertive with himself. He had been kind to himself through the journey, and I guess it comes with faith, and that has been kind of what I've recognized over the journey. You've got to, rather than putting yourself down. If I was in his place, perhaps back then, I would be putting myself down, saying, "Oh, you thought you would do this, and look at you now. You haven't. You've given in." Whereas he kind of met himself where he was, and respected himself, like every choice was a new choice, and that was so special. And I guess that's what I've learned through this journey, that trying to, when you start getting conscious about, like when we're talking about values, we start getting conscious about the ideas that we value that we weren't conscious about in the past. There's no point. I mean, we've got to honor that we did have that past journey, and stand up for, as be there for us, having been what we were, but equally meet ourselves halfway for where we want to go from here. So that
Love that. Love that.
it makes it more honest, and I feel like, since I'm not there yet at all, like this is quite hard for me because I was such a black and white person, and I'm learning to let go. But even just this change in attitude has meant that children respond to me differently at work, because maybe they feel they can be more open with me. I don't know. Even my own kids feel, I think they're more relaxed. I'm less intense.
Yeah, yeah. Wonderful. And we're going to get back to that point of flexitarian. And I hope Tushar gets to watch this. And I hope he realizes what an amazing difference he's made to so many just through his own example of being kind and yet assertive with himself. Thank you, Renuka, for sharing that. I'd love for you to share a little more about how your experience was with the Eco Project in school. So tell us about Montessori, tell us about the Eco Project and what your experience was like.
So Montessori is just an approach of childcare. It's a childcare approach, where we nurture children's independence and just respect for the child, letting them do stuff as much as they can themselves, and being, in a sense, we don't consider ourselves teachers. It's more like we are facilitators, and we are guided by the child's interest. They have their own guidance from within, and it's so pure and clear that we can be guided by it. So I work at a Montessori setting, but it's quite rural, so we do a lot of forest school and a lot of nature-based stuff as well. So we were applying for this eco flag. We were applying to gain an eco award, and I was quite excited about it because the owner of our setting, Jenny, she kind of asked me if I would be willing to lead it because of my interest in the subject. So I was talking to Ananta about it, and just because I have this thing of making things very big, and I find it hard, to see how I can take some. So basically, with Ananta, I managed to learn how to make something big, doable, in smaller chunks. We broke it up, allocated time for it, and as in the week, and in bits and pieces. Actually, we were ready to start giving it little bits of time more consistently. It went really well, in the sense that we're still on our second flag. There's a few awards you have to work towards. We raised quite a bit of awareness amongst the children, and I think even the parents, which was nice. One learning that did come through it was that I think at some points it felt like the children kind of got disengaged or disinterested, and one of my colleagues helped recognize that it was possibly that they were feeling a bit overwhelmed with, because sometimes when we talk about this whole eco thing, it can become quite like, oh, the planet is in crisis, and look at the oceans and look at the planet, landfill everywhere. And these children are 2 and 3, they don't need that overwhelm. And so basically we are now attempting to just nurture a real love for the planet, and they just need to experience the wonders of Mother Earth and feel part of it. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
it.
Beautiful, beautiful, and had a very interesting conversation with Jasmine, who's helping us put together the next summit where we are going to be focusing on sustainable living. And one of the things she said was so beautiful, that we need messengers who come in with a deep sense of hope. Because if we get into that space of overwhelm and there's no point in doing anything because it's not going to be enough, then we can't start, or we can't even do like one thing with that energy, right? So that deep
Yeah.
sense of hope is so important. So thank you for sharing that. For two and 3 year olds, I'm sure that it's such a valuable lesson to learn how to love the planet. And I think if we all learn to love and respect not the planet and all the earthlings, the way we interact would change drastically. So thank you for doing that, Renuka. And what has been one of your aha moments since the time we met, since the time we've embarked on this journey together?
So there have been so many, obviously, like for all of us, I know that we've had so many with Ananta. But the biggest one that I'm so forever grateful for Ananta is just like when we spoke about, I used to speak to Ananta a lot about my children and just, how they were and how this one was and how I felt and what they brought out in me, etc. And so Ananta said, we are all just expressions of creation, we're all souls. And so I guess I learned to start viewing them as exactly that, just expressions of creation, as everything around us is. And I was always I love Khalil Gibran, and there's that sentence in there that says, your children are not your children. They are sons and daughters of life's own longing for itself. And the thing is, when you actually start viewing them like that, it's so magical. It's as if, just as you said, they genuinely start revealing themselves in a way that you can't see it when you're looking at them as in a box, that has been, I think, so special for me. And I think, it's possible even to extend it to, for you, it's possible to extend it to everyone. But I guess we could all work on extending it to and holding space for more people, that we love and care to hold space for in that way.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And yes, your children are beautiful. And we've also mentioned, for those of you who have not yet read the book Begin to Be You, it's co-authored with Dhanashree Bhagwat. And there is a chapter that begins with Renuka and her son Yoj, and it's magical. So go get yourselves a book and have a read if you like, and we'd love to hear your response to it. Coming back to you, Renuka, what's one of your favorite or go-to tools of self-soothing or self-calming that you like?
Again, like Neha said that day, there are a few I use, but I tend to get quite scattered or overwhelmed often. So for that, if I can, I just try and center myself in between my eyebrows. I go to the loo or something, take a few seconds. That's all it needs. Like even now, I just start to calm down. If I guess I close all stimuli and go inside for a moment. And if I feel really triggered, after I read Boundary Boss and started watching more carefully, I think I recognize that I do get triggered sometimes by people, situations, etc. And it's never the situation, it's always inside. So I guess that tool I use there is, what do I need in this moment? And just asking that question is usually enough, because just like giving yourself that respect of saying, what do you need? Like, you're overwhelmed, what do you need?
Can you talk a little more about it, if that's okay? Like, give an example of when you may have used that for yourself as a teacher or as a parent.
As a parent, it happens all the time. Like when the children are, in quotes, annoying me or doing stuff that's too much right now that I can't handle because I've got this or that to do or whatever. And in my mind, and maybe sometimes I'm starting to act out and say, can you, whatever, can you, if actually I can take a breath and just say, what do I need in this moment? I realize that, maybe I need a minute out, or maybe I just need to calm down and come back to it, or organize my mind, recognize, yes, I do have this, that, but sometimes
Yes.
it needs you to, but just asking that question allows the space to then respond more appropriately rather than just externalizing it and placing blame on somebody else for what you're feeling inside, really.
So powerful, Renuka. Thank you so much. And since this is a summit Choose Peace, can you tell us how you make peace a priority, or how you choose peace for yourself, and how that has changed your life?
um, yeah, it just, like, peace, I guess, for me means inner peace. I'm not political, or don't know very much about all that stuff. It just, I guess it just means when you start listening to yourself more, and um, honoring a little bit, a little at a time, more and more of what you hear, you start to feel, just giving yourself that respect makes you feel valued and significant, and then peaceful, I guess. And then we don't need then to play. It's exactly that example before this. I don't need to put somebody else down or play a power game because I value myself. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess, like, before I started all this process of self-reflection and trying to use these tools, I used to spend a lot of my energy, waste a lot of my energy trying to fit into situations, and, like, as if your mind is always decoding, how do I fit in? And you're trying to, but I was never there for myself because there was no energy left to be there or to hear what I needed to be,
Right.
for myself. But now I'm slowly starting to be more myself bit by bit. I might not always externally fit in everywhere, but, like, I fit into my own skin better and I feel more at home. And that thing about feeling at home is that when I can feel at home, I can then hold space for other people's home space,
Yeah.
and then there are no misfits in that space. There's, at that level, everyone fits. So then you don't feel different or odd or anything.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Renuka, for being here with us and for taking the time to share all these beautiful insights. We're now going to come back to the audience and just do a little bit of an interactive Q&A, if that's all right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.